afterwards. It occurred to me the other day that I don't know that I ever heard anybody ask, why acting? Why acting in the first place? When you were 10 years old, when you were 9 years old, I know, are they looking for you? Was there something about, were you wanting to be an actor when you were a child or when you were a kid?
I think, no, I don't think so. I think I just sort of did it. I wanted to be a baseball player, really. Mm-hmm. That was my dream. And I just sort of had a knack for it or something. It had to come from somewhere, naturally. So I got into school plays, and the rest is history, as they say. It was easier to act than it was to play baseball and really excel, because you have to be sore to be an athlete and move on in the sport.
Right.
You have to have certain gifts.
But as you joined the studio and all that stuff, I assume you became more specific in the craft.
As I joined the Actors Studio?
Where'd you involve? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think what it was for me was this evolution, naturally, of starting as a young boy and thinking I was going to be an actor and not knowing quite what I was going to do, and then going to the High School of Performing Arts, which I really enjoyed. But it was a matter of certain things that had to happen in my life. I had to go off and work and stuff. So I left school at a young age. I wandered and wandered and went to the village and found a home there in a way. Kind of got together with different people in the kind of 60s when things were fervent and alive and things were happening and the cafes were blooming, and we were doing plays in these cafes, and with the various groups you get together with. I could see my 25-year-old daughters doing that, but this time with films and the people. You find each other in that world, and you get supported by each other, and so we would do it. But the cafe theater was where it started for me, because it was 16 performances a week. And what we would do after each performance, pass the hat, we call it the basket, and then they'd throw whatever they could in it, you know. And you would do these plays, usually. Reviews, too. You know, they had comedy reviews. That was in the sketches, the comedy sketches. Those were the days of Stewed Prunes, Second City, and all that stuff. So that was the environment that I lived in. And I still didn't know what I was doing. I was doing it, and it was until I did a play with a friend when I was 21, and for some reason, it just something happened to me. I broke through something, and I started to understand how I related to this thing called plays, and what happens to you when you're in a play, and how you can express yourself through this play. And the other thing I think is there was a strong sense that I was part of something. I had left, say, the South Bronx. I kind of left it in a way, and I was into other worlds. And that was a form of education, a form of development. And I knew then that I was going to do this. This is what I was going to do. Whatever happened to me, you know, it's kind of a wonderful thing to know that it's a liberating thing, that I was going to do this, and whatever happened, happened. But I had something there in this. It's like suddenly learning to play the cello or something.
Or hitting the curve, if you're going to be a baseball player.
Yeah, or hitting the curve. Yeah, what a fastball for me. That was a tough one. So.
And did it ever become work, or is that? I mean, because the beginning of this movie.
Well, you know what's working for United Parcels? That's work, and I've done that. Or being a moving man, which I've done. And but acting work, yes, of course, it's work sometimes. It's hard work. But sometimes it's hard work because it's not something you feel good about doing. It's not a part you really like or material you're really involved in. so then it's really work. Then it shows how. But what's still wonderful about doing parts that you're not right for, or that you feel that you've been miscast, or that the piece is not something that you can really find, it's not imaginative enough or whatever. But that's a good time for you, because that's when you learn the craft, because then you have to learn how to adjust yourself to a role that doesn't come easy for you. And at the same time, you like to do parts that you feel can get to that part of yourself which allows you to express something about something, you know, point of view in a way. But mostly I love the work. I love the challenge of it. I love the environment that I get in. So a lot of work we do as actors is private, by the way. Yeah. I mean, I think I recently did a movie called Kevorkian, an HBO thing, and I spent so much time just being with Kevorkian, not in person, but in the films of him, in the books he wrote, in the books that were read about, and just developing and finding a way in, so to speak, a channel in oneself where you could. So
was it fun doing a biopic where you had somebody who was so familiar to everybody? I mean,
yeah.
The Inspector also soon after. Well, I mean, is that a different challenge? Is that a fun?
Well, it's actually both challenging. It's fun, but and it's in a way more fun because there's a credibility there. You're playing someone that exists, and that there's, like I did with Serpico, but there are also other real people that I've played. But I didn't find I needed or wanted to even see them if they were still alive. I felt there was something in the in that relationship that was even with Kevorkian. If I would have met Kevorkian now, who I ultimately did come to know actually and really love, but it was only afterward, because the movie's about before he went to prison. So if I'd be seeing him, it would be after it. Same thing with Spectre. The thing I did with on Spectre was before he went to prison. So, and then there's another thing. Sometimes when you're playing a real character, like Roy Cohn in Angels in America, it's not really Roy Cohn. It's based on the image of Roy Cohn that the great Tony Kushner wrote about. And he is sort of like Shakespeare writing about Richard III. It's his take on that, because he uses it for his metaphor. So with Tony Kushner, in a sense, he wrote this great part, great character. So basically that's what I was doing. And it was based on Roy Cohn. Same way Humbling is based on Philip Roth's novel. Right. It's not really what Philip wrote. It's an adaptation of Philip's.
So do you build a character that's, say, not a real person from the ground up, or do you?
Well, you like to have a real person, but if you don't, you really are building up. I like to think of it as a blank canvas that I go to, and I have these words. So the play is what's motivating me. The play is what's inspiring me. And there's something interesting about that too, you know. And so you probably have, I'm sure I have some kind of technique that gets me there, because there's certain things I do. And like anything else, most actors have their own idiosyncratic approaches to things. It's not, but basically what you're trying to do is find whatever is in this text, and the better the text, the more fun it is to explore, because what you're really trying to find whatever is in that text and in that character to be personal, where it can connect somehow to to find some view of life that you think that this is expressing and you could express.
So even a character as far afield of you as somebody like Tony Montana.
Yeah.
You're looking for the personal something.
That's
in you
right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So you with that, I built in that way with Tony Montana. I did work a lot on that part. I tried to find the body and sculpt it, and then to work out all the outer things. And then I had, again, a great script to work with. That Oliver Stone wrote that. So,
is it harder to do that kind of transformation? Is it the idea of doing it?
No, actually, the further out the character is for me, somewhat a little easier. You know.
So this character is a little closer.
Humbling?
Yeah.
I would say it's in my wheelhouse. Yeah, it is. It's, you know, I lived through it. So there are things that they're go-to things in there that you just know. But you try to keep that distance because I think you need it. Otherwise it gets, you know, I once saw the great actor Michael Gambon. You ever hear of him?
The great Michael Gambon, yeah.
Great actor. And I saw him doing A View from the Bridge. And I marveled at the fact that what he had was this appetite, this enormous appetite to play this part. Because there was so much in it that he really was excited about playing. He didn't have the authentic accent of whatever yet he attempted to do certain things that way. But the metaphor, the vision in him of what he wanted to do and say as this character was so profound and overwhelming that you didn't even think about it. He could have done it at he could have sang that part as a soprano or something, and it would have come out. It was mesmerizing. So sometimes, you know, the I don't know the point that got me there, but the authenticness of a character is more associated with a feeling, more an imaginative choice. Like my daughter once, my oldest daughter, when she was 3 or 4, I asked her, "How would you play a blind man?" Because I was going to play a blind guy. And I said, "Julie, let me see you do blind for me. I mean, how would you play a blind person?" And she just did it. But she did it no way that I could possibly do anyway. You know, I couldn't come to that. That's just, you know how kids can have that genius, you know. So, but I looked at it and it was like, she just said yes. She said yes to it. That's all. This is what it is. And she so believed in it in herself that there it was. And you couldn't even mimic it. It was so original, you know.
Have you ever had a hard time with that, saying yes?
Saying yes to parts?
When you're in a part, once you've chosen to do it.
Well, yeah, because you say yes sometimes and you go in directions, and especially on film, there they are, and you can't stop it. You know, the film is going. No, I didn't really mean that. You know, so, but I think that's part of the fun of it too, and the danger of it is to take those chances.
So in this movie, at the beginning, he's talking to himself about the work. He's trying to work through things. The character is that. Do you do that kind of thing? Do you have that kind of dialogue with yourself as an actor that he's having in the movie?
No, I don't. I don't like to confess that I don't. But there's something probably in that family. I understand it. I understand it, but no.
Do you know when it's working? When you have hit the note?
Sometimes, but sometimes I don't. I know one thing, that this character, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but if I did, I know his appetite he's losing his appetite. And as you know from seeing great movies like The Dresser with Albert Finney, I mean, I recommend that performance in that movie.
Courtney's not bad either.
Oh, Courtney's great in it. But as an actor, because Courtney plays the dresser and he plays the actor. And what you can see is you really see it in Albert, the rigors of stage acting, doing the different roles and the exhaustion and what overcomes you, really overtakes you. And I think that is a part of what our guy has been through in a lot of his life, because he's a stage actor primarily. He does movies, but not as much as the stage. And I think you need an appetite to do that kind of work, especially those big Shakespearean roles. You can't do them if you don't have desire. You you know, oh, I walked through this. I walked through King Lear tonight. You can't. You cried through it, you know, you lost your mind through it, but you can't walk through it. So, and that, it wears you down, and our guy's getting older, and he's also losing some of the tools of his craft, and that's the thing. See, when the lines go, maybe the appetite starts to, so one is feeding the other. So
well, not just his appetite for work, I guess. I mean, the appetite for women and sex and romance.
Well, I would
and all that is still
imagine
part of
all
this.
of it's part of it, and the feelings about yourself that because you're doing what Shakespeare says, showing the mirror up to nature all the time. You're right in there doing it. You're facing your own waif. You're just looking at that all the time and saying, "Oh, look at this. This is, you're up there again." Going into, you know, it's like a baseball player getting up again at 102 and trying to hit that fastball. So you're always challenging that, and it wears. And when the tools, like the memories, start to go a little bit, so that informs some of the other stuff. Well, maybe I'm not as, you know.
Well, you were on stage in Broadway last year, was it?
Yeah.
And then you're going again this next year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're still going at it strong.
Well, I'm trying, you know. I say I'm going on next year. I hope I can make it.
But you've got the hunger.
I still have the appetite, but it's different, you know. Like they say in the AA meetings, they say, bring the body and the mind will follow. So, you know, basically, if I say yes and do it, then hopefully the appetite will come. But the appetite is in the developing of it and finding it. Yeah, I enjoy that challenge. It's what I do.
Have you had any periods where you've taken off, you know, a year or two?
Yeah, I did. I took 4 years off. I did. I was a little disillusioned, actually, a while back. I just was a bit thrown by things and my place in it. And it was one of the best things I've ever done to just take off. And it took 4 years off.
And then you just knew at the end of it that it was time to return? Or?
Well, the pocketbook knew.
That can be...
That said to me, you got to go to work, buddy. And I did, and I found a way back in, which was lucky for me. And I just kept going ever since. But it was interesting that those years I was out of the loop, so to speak. It was very helpful to me.
Was it like getting back on a bike? Did it just come back?
Oh yeah, it just comes back. I wasn't, you know, you get a little bit more used to film acting, as the young people today are used to it. Because my youngest daughter, she's all over the, you know, the whatever she does.
The Instagram and the...
Yeah, those machines, makes little films. And such a natural, she naturally acclimates to a camera. I mean, it's easy for her to do. You know? And it's because of the constantly doing it, and it's part of her anatomy. And I think that I did find the 4 years off, I felt a little rusty going back, and things took me twice as long to do. So there is something to say for the, you know, repeating something and doing it.
So is work, I mean, your career you had such a fast rise to really being one of the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah.
Within, you know, the first, I was looking at the numbers of it, and I was like, when you were 29, you were kind of an unknown, and by the time you were 35, you were the biggest star in the world.
Yeah.
It must be very head-spinning, but I mean, do you see this?
That's why I have a little trouble remembering the 70s. Because they say, how come you say you don't remember the 70s? Well, I needed some support, you know. It was a tough time to go through for me. Because it was a different world then, naturally, of course. And, you know, to go from, you know, a kind of obscurity. I mean, I was a stage star at the time, but movie stardom was like, wow.
And was it fun? I mean, is it...
Oh, no. Nothing but fun. Let me tell you something. It was fun, and it wasn't. You know, it was tough for me. Because it was, as my great friend and mentor, Lee Strasberg, said to me, at the time, mind you, when he saw me at one point looking a bit, he said to me at the time, you know, darling, you simply have to adjust. You know, and so that period of adjustment for me it is simple. That's simple. You do. I mean, we all, in all forms of life, we do. But that was so severe to go from, and everything changing and being ready. Who's ready for that, really?
Nobody.
I don't think so.
There's no book on how to do that one.
No. That's, we don't know that until it happens to us. It's always the same story.
But did you feel you had to maintain that level of stardom or just do good work?
Absolutely not. I just said, at least my theater training and being a part of the theater always sort of, and my support system, my friend Charlie Lawton was there and a few other people who were right in my corner and really helping me with this, that reminding me of where I come from, what I do. So that was really, really helpful. I think, I didn't think about maintaining it, but it did come up finally, when you're not delivering the kind of performance. I'm sorry about this. But when you're not delivering the kind of performance you did in the last time, it's a different movie, and so you have to deal with that kind of adjustment. But I did. Somebody like Marty Bregman was really instrumental in my career. Marty Bregman was a great manager, great producer. Produced 5 films of mine that were all big hits. But he did say something to me that at the time I wondered about, because he said, and he was a very wise man, and he said, Al, what you have to do is experiment, but not on the main stage. I was saying, no, you see, I somehow thought that you do whatever you go for it anywhere, but there is a certain, you have to be guided sometimes, because actors will do anything, sometimes do any kind of part. That's what we're like. I mean, we see a part we like. It doesn't matter who's directing it. Doesn't even matter sometimes if the script is excellent, but we have a feeling for the character, so we'll do it. But you should do that either in your home or somewhere far away from a film set, because there's a price you pay for that.
So when there was a public price for it, or there was a negative reaction?
When there's a negative reaction, you know it. It's like when you lose the tournament or something, you go. So you start to learn it well, and then, because I was all for I want to explore this part of my career. I want to explore this role and this stuff. You say, no, there's no time for exploring. You gotta hit the ball out of the park, man, because that's what you've been doing. So that's never going to happen. You're going to fall and fail and all that, and that's all part of it, and you should, really, because I think it does help you understand things. But when you got a lot of hits right up front, that's all you know. So it's going to be the fall's going to be a little boom.
Well, you're kind of graded on a curve. I mean, everybody expects, not only they expect a good performance, but they also expect a certain you.
That's right.
That's really kind of an unfair position on an actor who's trying to do something different.
That's right. But there are places you can do that. A very prominent actress talked to me the other day, young, and I was concerned a little bit about her. And I thought that, I don't think she understands, or the people around her understand, that, you don't have to do that on the main stage. Do that, because I have seen people as great as Meryl Streep, and she is completely great. I mean, I've worked with her, I know her, she's the greatest. However, I saw in a play once, which she was great in, but I knew at the time she was doing 8 performances a week. She was playing a role in a play that wasn't giving her the kind of support in terms of, it wasn't Shakespeare, so it wasn't energizing her in a way. She was just giving. And you could tell on her face, she was a young girl at the time. You knew that she was exhausted in a deep way. And I knew at that time she wasn't coming back to the theater. And because that experience was so enervating that she had other reasons to take off. She had kids and stuff like that. But I knew that she was not going to be doing theater for a while. You know, I think it was like 20 years later before she came back.
Do you see that do you see what other actors are going through often? Do you feel that in the performances?
I feel that. I feel it sometimes when I see him in life or when I talk to him about things, and because it's very, but again, it's a different thing now too. You know, we get so much on television, so much in that area, and movies, and not many actors go to the theater. They don't go back when they've, you know, how you gonna once they tasted Broadway, you know, and that I mean movie success and movie acting, and some actors love movie acting, in a sense, have a real sense of their craft and their art. And they really develop it, and they're quite brilliant, and that wouldn't happen on stage. And yet I come from a school of you go on stage, you play on stage, and that's where you learn about yourself, and you play great material. You get a chance to do things, and that's sort of where you expand a little bit. You broaden.
I saw a co-star in one of your movies who did stage, and I was like, and clearly was trying to, you know, do things, and it was just like he just looked lost, completely lost on the stage. And he's a great film actor, and it just the stage was not his home.
That's right. And some people are just natural stage animals, and they just do it. Usually they've come from it. Usually they started in the theater. It's rarely they started in movies and they go then become actors on stage. It doesn't happen that way.
So this movie is short schedule, quick movie, relatively, not a lot of time. But
most of them are that way now. You know, you get your 6 days to make a movie, and then there it is. But I did Humbling. We did in increments, which was interesting.
Did you like the pressure of it?
I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot because we did a very low budget movie. And we did it on the run. Can you make it next week? What about 2 weeks? I could do 4 days there. Okay, well, we'll schedule that. Okay, when can you do it? I'm getting a week straight in September. Let's go do something. Yeah, but we had a script, and that took time to develop. You know, Buck Henry and Barry Levinson wrote this, and that took time. But once we had the script and knew we could improvise around it, we knew where we were going. We would shoot in like that.
So were you surprised?
Barry loved doing it. I loved that he was right there. It was good.
Well, he's got that TV life that he's lived.
Well,
also.
yeah, that's right. He's been doing that. That's
so
true.
when you saw it all put together, would it surprise you after doing it in a bunch of pieces, or did you know?
Well, it always surprises me. You know, it always surprised me that I've survived it. That's all. I say. The editor really did some good stuff here, because and I did see that. I saw that we had. You could tell we had something that could be a movie. That it was there. You know how it is. The movie's standing up. It's actually standing there. Now we got to get it to walk, but it was standing, and that was good. So
but it's a movie of great intimacy in many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And did you expect that? Did you know what he was capturing as you were?
I sort of did. I don't like to look at I don't go to the monitor after it's done and look at it, unless I'm really concerned about a thing. I've done that occasionally. I go look and think, I'm going to just brood about this because I think it is so bad what I just did. So you go over to finally get the nerve to go up to that monitor, and you look in there and say, okay, it's not as bad as I thought, so maybe I'll rest tonight or something.
And have you watched it with audiences? Have you seen the film?
Well, the big thing with me, honestly, was when I went to Toronto and saw it with an audience. Because even and there's another thing about it. When you saw it with a Toronto audience, and you see them reacting to it, it's a comedy. It is a comedy.
Very funny movie.
It's a funny movie. And I knew it was sort of funny, but I didn't realize it was that funny. And another thing is, we're getting so used to seeing things on these little things, movies. Oh, I got a movie for you, and it is, or on these kind of screens. To finally see it on a big screen, where you can actually see the reactions to things, and say, boy, it made a difference.
Yeah, the shared experience was lovely.
I love the shared experience.
It was a big theater too.
Oh, wow, it was great. It really was. It was surprising.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Okay.